This tale is dedicated to my rabbits, Mr. Fritz, Han Solo, Velvet, and Miss B. This is a tale told to me, Deborah Lindsay, by Mr. Fritz. I give you The Night Before Christmas for Rabbits. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the hutch not a creature was stirring. Well, not very much. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, and I wanted to nibble them, but I didn't dare. The children were sleeping and dreaming of cake, but the rabbits, we were bright-eyed and quite wide awake. Hans was all sweet, quietly contemplating, but as for me, Mr. Fritz, I was impatiently waiting. Then all at once I heard an odd noise. Hans and I knew that it wasn't us boys. I reared on my cage and I peered down the hall, and was all but convinced that I'd heard nothing at all, when what to my wondering eyes did appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. There was a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it was Scrooge McNick. "Bah humbug!" I told him, and I thumped with displeasure. Then I thumped hard again, just for good measure. "Santa unfair to all rabbit kind." Well, I thumped thrice more, and I showed him my sign. Note to listener: my sign was printed in 36-point Arial font bold, and had a jolly Santa face with a red bar slashed right through the middle of it. How did I manage that, you ask? Well, it's an established fact that all house rabbits are computer literate. We infiltrated the World Wide Web ages ago, but we strictly adhere to the official rabbit code of ethics and will never admit to anything. Just try asking your house rabbit. You know you've wondered about it. "Do you use the web while I'm away?" Well, your rabbit will look up at you adoringly innocent, until you shake your head at the very thought of such an absurd thing. Rest assured, though, your rabbit is happily enjoying an inside binky at your expense. We rabbits have perfected that innocent look, you know. Okay, back to my tale. Oh yes, Santa unfair to all rabbit kind. I thumped thrice more, and I showed him my sign. There are gifts for Billy, Bob, and Sally, even catnip for Cat, who lives in the alley. Gifts for Muffy, Rover, and Rory, but nothing for rabbits. It's the same old story. Ferrets, raccoons, macaws, and ratties get all the good stuff. It's driving me batty. So tell me, Santa, what will you do? Rabbits just want a little Christmas too. Well, I sat back and waited to see how he'd reply. And then he suddenly turned and he looked me straight in the eye. "These days the pole is all out of sorts. It's politically correct, or I'm in the courts. My desk is littered with papers and writs. I tell you, Rabbit, I've wanted to quit. My cookies and milk have all been replaced with each individual's particular taste. Texas kids leave me huge bowls of chili with spices so hot it makes me act silly. And some kids leave me sushi and rice. And while I'm sure it's all very nice, but listen up, Rabbit, and don't you repeat it. I can't stand it, and the reindeer won't eat it." Well, I felt ashamed, and I laid down my sign. Santa was having a really hard time. I offered him a nibble of bean sprouts and carrot, He took one big bite and he saved the rest for a ferret. Then he twinkled merrily, his usual habit. Now, let's address this Christmas for a rabbit. For all you straight-eared Rexes and Lops, please rest assured you've not been forgot. As is stated in Article 15, I'm now Santa Red, and he's Santa Green. Then Santa Red laid a finger to the side of his nose, and he vanished from sight, up the chimney, I suppose. I viewed this new Santa with a critical eye, and I instantly disliked him, though I can't say why. I think it had something to do with his smell, for he reeked of bologna that had gone quite stale. He was dressed all in green and shaped like a pear. I laughed through my whiskers, and I tried not to stare. His three-piece suit seemed overly dressy, and he mumbled aloud that the reindeer were messy. He dabbed at his wingtips with a monogrammed scarf, and he was so full of himself that I wanted to barf. He's not what I'd call a jolly old elf, but I kept these comments quite to myself. He sighed a huge sigh, and then he went to work. He opened his briefcase and turned with a jerk. A book of vouchers he held tight in his fist. He tore off a few and then he checked his list. There were vouchers for guzzlers, wamplers, and raz, even a CD recording of all of that jazz. Vouchers for spittlers, spottlers, and spanners, but not even a hint of a carrot or nanner. He sorted carefully, and he made a neat pile. There now, he said, with a smirk smile. Your tax dollars are evident. Your government is still working. Then he snapped his case shut, still smiley, smirking. So, what say you, Rabbit, of this new Christmas bright? Well, I hoped he'd come closer, for I was ready to bite. Santa Green unfair to all rabbit kind. I thumped in disgust, and I showed him my sign. But he called for his sleigh, and each reindeer by name. Be quick, he shouted, no silly reindeer games. Check the GPS carefully. I'm not feeling lucky. The next stop for rabbits is somewhere down in Kentucky. Well, he vanished from sight, swift as new fallen snow. I closed my eyes, and then I thumped, No! Rise up, fellow rabbits! This is rabbit abuse. Vouchers for Christmas is a humbug's excuse. But Velvet was napping with her belly all fat, and Hans was a bunny bump, snug under his mat. Miss B was snoozing all prim and proper. But as for me, Mr. Fritz, I was a very mad hopper. Then all at once I heard a loud clatter. Well, I peered down the hall to see what was the matter. I twisted my ears round and then shook my head, and suddenly standing before me, there was Santa Red. He winkled and twinkled with a silvery sheen. I've come back to check on that new Santa Green. There's something about him that wasn't so merry. Frankly, good rabbit, he seemed rather scary. Well, Santa Red grinned, happily hopping. Look here, rabbit, I've been out shopping. He opened his pack and he called me his pard. Then he pulled out parsley, kale, and Swiss chard. There were carrots and nanners and a wood block to chew, rabbit hideouts and toys, red, green, and bright blue. There were raisins and apples and a fine apple twig and shredded paper so tasty that I couldn't wait to dig. Santa Red laughed, and he held his huge belly. And it really did shake like a bowl full of jelly. All right now, Rabbit, please show me your trick. And if you don't mind, please just call me Saint Nick. Well, I hopped on my hind legs, up and down the floor, and then I turned around and hopped 3 times more. "Bravo!" he said. "That left me quite breathless. But I must be off now. You see my reindeer get restless." He clicked his heels twice, and in wild hurricane fly was over the rooftops and into the sky. But I heard him exclaim before he vanished from sight, "Happy Christmas, you rabbits! And to all a good night!" The end. Merry Christmas, everyone. The end. Again.